Welcome back. This Thursday will mark 1 year since the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a global pandemic. It's hard to believe that it's been a year. From lives lost to jobs lost, it has been a long and devastating year for so many people.
Yeah, and while many of us may not want to mark this somber anniversary, resilience expert Dr. Debbie Gilboa says it's actually important that we do not ignore this milestone. And she joins us live right now. Dr. G, thanks for joining us as always. Tell us why it's so important that we do remember this, because so many of us just don't want to think about what's going on.
So I totally understand that. It's easier to, I think, try and let it go by. But there has been some good out of the last year. And if we don't mark it, we'll only continue to feel the struggle, and we won't have an opportunity to not celebrate, but be strengthened by what we've gotten out of this and what good we can take into our future as we open back up.
You know, Dr. G, I remember when I was little, my mom would tell me, nothing lasts forever. You know, whether it's pain or happy, like nothing is forever. So keep that in mind. And I remember in the fall, I kept thinking we need that light at the end of the tunnel. And we kind of have it now. We have more of this behind us than in front of us now.
We do. Even, I mean, our leading experts in the last few days have said, we really believe the worst of this is behind us. And as a family doctor, I can tell you we're seeing that, which doesn't mean that the hard stuff is over or that we can stop paying attention to the news and the recommendations. What it does mean is we can start to think, okay, not getting back to normal, but what do we want to keep from this experience, from what we've learned, and what are we really eager to get back to, and are we ready for that? How can we figure out how to ready ourselves and our families and our work? Where are we finding that integration line between what we do at home and what we do at work, since that became one and the same for so many people? Where are we going to shift, and what are we determined to get back to again?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that turned out to be perhaps a positive thing that we wouldn't have done otherwise is so many of us have slowed down. We have sort of taken a moment to notice what is important in our lives. And hopefully, as we move forward, we won't just go back to being crazy busy all the time, but we'll have that perspective and take it with us, right?
I'm one of those people who, when you ask me how I'm doing, I don't say busy but good, I say busy and good. For me, busy feels great. But for so many people, they learned what their health needs, their mental health needs are, their physical health needs. They may have seen some people in their own family or workplace reacting differently and handling things even better because pace has changed, because boundaries and structure have changed. So please use this opportunity where you just slam back into having a full schedule and having things look like they looked in 2019 to say, what are we doing now? For example, I think a lot more people will attend distant birthday gatherings via some sort of electronic means than ever did in 2019. We figured out how to include people who are distant from us in ways that we hadn't had to before. We figured out how to integrate work and home needs differently, how to respect people's physical difficulties or caretaking responsibilities differently. So let's not lose those things, even while we can recognize that a lot of this was awful and we wouldn't want to do it anymore.
Right. And Dr. G, on that same note, you say to make sure to have this conversation with your family. And I think that this could be a really insightful conversation, even to ask your children, what was something good that happened this past year? What can we continue doing after everything opens back up?
We have a family tradition of Friday night dinner all together as a family. And we've been able to include people in that who live actually on the other side of the world in ways that we hadn't before. And one of the things that my kids said they'd like to keep is that. So they want to get back to having that dinner in person and being able to run around after dinner and be outside or be inside, whatever it is, but they don't want to lose that connection, and neither do I. There are lots of opportunities for good conversation. And you don't have to say, oh, we're going to be, incredibly positive. You can say, what are you so glad to be done with in some number of months? And what would you want to make sure we keep?
I also think all of this, having these discussions, helps us process something that on some level, even if you haven't lost someone or maybe you have lost someone, it helps you grieve what we've gone through this past year.
A great deal of resilience is knowing that you can feel different, sometimes opposing emotions at the same time, and still consider what your choices are. So acknowledging the loss, the distrust that you might have about opening back up, the discomfort that you're feeling in where we are or where we're going, and at the same time figuring out, so what choices do I have and which ones do I want to engage with? It's really useful. All you have to do to be resilient is remember that you have choices and pick a couple, try them.
Really interesting stuff.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. G, for putting things in perspective. We appreciate it.
Have a really good day.
You too. You know, that's so true, you said, about the grieving process, because even seeing some of that video that we were playing, it's so jarring to see someone in full, like almost hazmat and handing something through a drive-through without having any kind of human touch or interaction. It's jarring. It's jarring to think that we were at that point at one point.
Yeah,
You know?
it's not normal, and we shouldn't ever think of it as normal.
Yeah.